Wow. Okay. And in just a minute, I am going to admit everyone, and then we can get this party started.
Oh, so excited.
Oh, yeah.
Admit all.
What a happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And in such a dark time of year, too, it really is a happy Monday.
Yeah, it's a little, it's a wild time. Who knows? This year really flew by. I can't believe we have 2 weeks left. Oh, hi, Adam. Welcome to the group. We've got some people joining us. Great.
Just gonna put on my background here. Okay, nice.
Okay, now you're sideways, Tom.
Why am I sideways?
I don't know. I love it, though. I'm team it.
Give me a sec.
I'm done. Hi, Tay. We've got Casey Lynn. Care's iPhone, welcome. Welcome to the BZAM BTA tasting. We're just, chilling. We're getting set up. If anyone wants to write in the chat where they're from, I'd love to know.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to keep my background open. I feel like the fish are the right kind of weird. So we're leaning in. Oh, Ottawa, Edmonton, Windsor. Oh, Elise. Hi, Elise. Good to see you. Virtually. And Casey. Hi, Casey. Welcome. So excited for everyone to be here. Tom is wearing the perfect BZAM colored hat. It is actually a BZAM hat. They're the best.
Yeah, they are the best. They fit my branding perfectly. By the way, I'm not wearing the full Tom different outfit, so we gotta change this quickly. There we go.
Yeah. Casey, you have the same colored hats. Oh my gosh, we should do a collab. This is the future. There we go. Kirsty,
Orange
welcome.
Dukes are the best.
Hi, Amy. I kind of feel like before I used to not be into the really bright orange, but now I'm in a space where I think it's a neutral and it matches really with everything.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You just got to keep everything else plain.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got more people joining. If you're new, welcome. Tell us where you're from in the chat and then we'll get started shortly. But hello. And we are recording, which is always great. Usama, yeah. Welcome to Monday at potentially 3 p.m. for some of you. It's noon for Tom and I, but I hope everyone's having a really incredible Monday. The weather's a little cold, it's a little brisk. We got a busy couple of weeks ahead of us, and then we're diving into 2022.
And it's hopefully gonna be better a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. It can't get worse.
But yeah, I mean, cannabis legal over here, so we can't really complain, eh?
No, I know, we're having an okay time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Amy from Stratford, welcome. Hi, Selma. You're in the car. Oh, thank you for joining us from the car. On the road. Nate Pops from Cannabis
Toronto.
Something. I saw it.
We have someone from Toronto. That's important because that's where you can get the nuts for the new nut butter tasting.
So good. So good. I'm secretly happy, Tom, that it's available out here because for like a long time it wasn't available in BC. So I was like, I just keep hearing that it's good.
Yeah, and now we can finally try all of the goodness as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Casey, hello from Hamilton. Hello. I have a Hamilton brick in my apartment because one of my friends is from Hamilton. So if you know about the Hamilton brick, you know, Casey. She brought it all the way over here in her carry-on. It's pretty impressive.
Awesome. How many people? Oh, we already have 23 people in here.
Oh, amazing. Thrilled. Well, I'm
nice.
Stoked. Our cultivation team, Mariah and Rob, just had lunch. They're heading back from lunch now, so they'll be all ready for us and whoever's here to join us for a tour. It's actually going to be fun for you, Tom, because some of the phenos that you saw like secretly last time now have a full room.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess you will tell us what phenos those are in a little bit.
I don't know if we can. I think we can. I think we can give you like subtle hints. But last time you only saw them and they were like five plants in the room, and now we built them out into a full room, which is really exciting.
That is awesome. And yeah, to everyone, Sabine actually took me already on a tour to BZAM out in Maple Ridge. So I am familiar and I'm super excited to be hosting this event with you all.
It's going to be great. It's a good fun day. Yeah, I'm thrilled that we get to regroup because now you've moved to the island. So you're actually a little far away from me now.
A little bit further, but also just take the ferry and boom, I'm back.
Well, you are really close to the other facility. So I want Corey to take you to the other facility.
Yes, please. Please,
Yeah.
let's do that. And maybe I can take the BTA people with me if I go wherever as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. We should plan that.
Yeah,
Clay, I'll send you an email.
We'll plan that out, yeah. So I think it's 12:05. Should we slowly get started here?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So just gonna introduce the Bartender Association quickly. So hi everyone, thank you all so much for joining. My name is Tom Rothmeier. I'm also known as Tom Different on Instagram as well. I do a lot of cannabis content, and that is actually the first time that I am working with the Bartenders Association today as their new moderator. And yeah, I'm super excited that I'm here today with Sabine from BZAM. We already know each other. I've already tried a lot of the BZAM tabletop and NES products before, and I'm quite a fan. And I'm especially excited about the event that we have going on today, because what we will be talking about is the BTA tastings. So you can already write in the comments if you've ever done a BTA tasting before. I personally did 3 tastings so far, and I have to say that I'm a really big fan of it, because as a bartender, not only do you get your money back for the product, you even get a little bit of extra nugs. So basically how it works, if you test a product, you get a specific amount of nugs, and once you reach 1,000 nugs, you can get your money back, which sometimes can be even $20 more than you initially paid for the product, which is really amazing. And yeah, so Sabine will just tell us a little bit about the product that we have in the tasting today, which is the BZAM nut butter. We're also going to have a little facility tour as well. And after that, I will let you guys know how the tastings actually work. And I also, before I forget, I just want to let you all know, after you finish this meeting today, there will be a little BTA survey that I would highly recommend to be filling out at the end of it, because if you enter the survey, you get an extra chance to win some prizes with BTA. We got some merchandise and stuff for you.
Bin section. Over one more shelf. Should be the very first one.
If everyone's not on mute, I will ask everyone to go on mute just as a quick housekeeping, because we've got a lot of things to get through today, and not a lot of time. But I will introduce myself. I am Sabine. I'm from BZAM Cannabis. So you might have seen us. We have a couple of brands underneath our umbrella. We have BZAM, of course, NES, Tabletop. We're really happy. We just recently announced the partnership with Dun. So if you're a Dun fan, that's like super thrilling for all of us, of course. And I love being able to work with BTA. We did Space Camp together. We've done a couple other things together. And I just think it's really incredible that there's a space for budtenders to be able to connect, because so wild time out there, everybody. You all know this. It's wild. You're at the front of a really incredible industry, which is also changing incredibly fast. So I love doing things with BTA. And today we're going to go through, just talk about some PK. And then we're going to do a quick tour of our Cedar Way facility with Rob and Mariah. So if you saw Space Camp, you might remember that facility. We'll do a tiny little baby version of that. And then we're going to do a live tasting of our nut butter, which if you are able to participate in the BTA tasting, you should for sure. It's a 3.5 gram that's available in most of the provinces actually, but the tasting is only available in Ontario. But the nut butter, which is super incredible and super flavorful, is actually Mendo Breath F2 and the white. So it's like a nice historical genetic, which is like, just a good time to have on the market. It's harder to find those breath strains in the recreational space. So if you love a breath strain, I would definitely suggest picking it up. And it's pretty pistol-y. I've seen some pretty intense photos, plus like the 2 bags that I've had have been like pretty intense. So I hope everyone's got a chance to try it. And then of course we're here to answer any questions you have. So if you have questions, pop them into the chat. Tom will moderate and make sure that we bring those forward to make sure we're getting all your answers. Yeah, really easy.
Yeah, and it's already awesome to see that some people already wrote in the chat over here. I also have my computer on the side, so if I'm pointing over, if you're confused, it's because the computer's here. A couple of you guys already did the tastings before, which is awesome. And everyone who never did a tasting before, I will cover all of that a little bit later.
Like it all makes sense. Yeah, so it's exciting. Do we want to dive right in?
Yeah. What
Great.
do you guys say? Do you have any questions ahead, or should we dive right in? Yes. Let's get to it.
I'm going to screen share. So bear with me. It usually works, but sometimes you don't know, which means I might not be able to see anybody. But Tom, you'll be my person. Oh, it's not letting me do it. What a fun time. Okay.
We'll figure it out. You got this.
We are going to figure it out because I feel like this is what should not happen, but it's okay. We're going to make it happen. If not, Tom, I will send you my presentation. You can screen share for me, which is totally fine.
Okay.
But welcome to the chat, everybody. Okay, let's get this started. Entire screen.
Sending you positive technical vibes right now.
Oh, yeah, it's a Zoom call. The vibes are always there. Okay, we got to change some settings. Are we shocked?
Someone was saying right now that the sour OG cheese is a beauty, nice and cheesy, which I have to agree. I tried that a few months ago, and especially the effects were awesome for myself. They just made me completely chilled out and kind of like stress-free, which was amazing.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I am personally not a cheese fan, but I do really, really love the smell of ours. I've smelt it IRL a few times. I think, Tom, we actually saw it together. So I have semi-bad news for everybody, but it's actually fine. Are we not shocked that in cannabis, the security permissions on my computer are really intense? No, we're not shocked. So Tom, I'm going to email you my presentation right now, but we can actually start and walk through it. It'll be pretty chill, but I'd love to know if anyone in the chat, is this your first time hearing about BZAM, or has anyone tried our products before? I'd love to know what the vibes are, if you're like a super fan or you're just like a more casual fan, and make it really easy. Tom,
you got my email, right?
Yeah, I'm sending it.
Can you hear us? Are we muted? Oh, hi, how are you? Osama here from
How are you?
Hi there.
Love Magic Melon.
By the way, I wasn't driving and on the video just for safety, but parking lot having my lunch. Is this, I just covered a question. I'm the owner, so I wanted to join because I just saw your email. Is that usually for my bartender, or is it for me? There's value for me as an owner to be on those calls. And the second question is, we love your product. We just got it, one of your, the first SKU, and we're hoping the nut butter is coming today for us. We're my team is very excited to have it.
Yeah, so. It depends what province you're in, and I can tell you whether or not nut butter will come to you. But there's probably value for everyone to always be a part of these because, we
ordered it already. We're receiving it today, so we know it's coming today.
Cool.
We're
Perfect.
very sure.
That's so exciting. No, that's great to hear. So yeah, there's always value for being a part of these if you're like a store owner or someone that's doing the ordering. I love that BTA is able to provide like access to different people and make sure that everybody gets all the information they need because it's not always super available.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to share with the team for a future event. Is that an usual event that you do, Tom and Sabine? Yeah.
So BTA does these actually pretty regularly, which is awesome. We're not the only LP that participates, which I think is really great. It's amazing to be able to showcase how amazing our brands are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not like on a set schedule, but the events will be always posted on all of our socials, and especially if you sign up for our BTA newsletter as well, then you will always be updated about any events or everything that's going on here.
So Tom, I just sent it to you, but we can actually start because I know the first half is pretty chill and pretty easy. But essentially I wanted to chat with everybody about like what BZAM actually is. And BZAM Cannabis is like obviously the corp. We, as I mentioned earlier, we have Tabletop Nest and BZAM obviously under our radar, as well as Done. Oh, I got some people that said Buns and Roses. So happy to hear you say that, because I was just going to talk about that as well. Plus some really great partnerships that we have with some folks. Oh, thanks, Tom. That was so fast. At Supra and Dutch Love for some of those other labels, which is really exciting. Buns and Roses is super tasty and is a Cushman's gelati. So again, another kind of semi-harder strain to get on the market. Thanks, Tom. So we can pop to the second page. And I think what you're going to see here is pretty simple. This is really our mission company-wide, is to produce the most sought-after cannabis products that the world has ever seen. And as you all know, as bud tenders, that kind of means like a little bit of everything, but also kind of nothing at the same time, because everybody has differences in what they want and what they're looking for. So what's really, really great about what we're doing here at BZAM is we're trying to understand very deeply what different people want, because some people do want a really, really accessible ounce. Some people are looking for that really special lineage. It really depends. Oh, I had someone say that a bad experience. I am so sorry, Casey. I would love to chat with you more about it, because, you know, sometimes things happen. But thanks to everybody else that's tried some things. Lemonberry is incredible from our Nest brand. But what's good about this sought after cannabis experience thing that you're seeing on the screen is we're just always here for feedback. I think that's really the key about what our goals are here at BZAM is we love talking to people and knowing what's going on, because again, everybody does have a different experience and everyone has a different thing for what they're looking for, especially with new consumers. But you as bud tenders all have a greater knowledge of the industry and have higher expectations. So we're always just keen to chat and bring to the world what they're looking for. And we can go to the next one, Tom. We're going to go through this pretty quick. What we're going to talk about today is BZAM, because the tasting today is about BZAM, but I do have some notes about our other brands, and I can definitely answer some questions, but I wanted to make sure you all got all of the scoop about what BZAM is. But BZAM is one of the brands underneath our portfolio. We have 3.5 gram flower and some really incredible 1 gram vapes on the market. And kind of the shtick with this one, which I always find is really fun if you read the thing on the screen, is it's for sun-leathered pirates of the cannabis sea, the ones with high expectations who aren't afraid to dip their wingtips into a little intrigue. And I think what's great about that is this brand that we have is really about making sure that customers who have that older kind of knowledge of cannabis or who are familiar with different lineages are able to get what they want. So someone who's definitely like an explorer and likes to try different strains, try unique strains, potentially someone that has like a weed journal, as we all do at this point. I know, it's like Tom has a very serious weed journal. If you are not following his blog, you should. Ooh, you got a lot going on. But yeah, so BZAM is really for our customer who comes in and who might have a little bit more of that knowledge and is really looking for something. I don't like using the word quality because I think it's overused in the industry, and I'm sure you can all agree with me, but they're really looking for something that's unique and tastes incredible at the same time. And we can pop to the next one. And then so the products that we have under our roster right now are, of course, nut butter, sour OG cheese, Max Slurry, and Amherst sour diesel. Amherst sour diesel hit Ontario for a like short hot minute. It's out there. If you can get it, you can get it. I hope you get it. If you can't get it, I'm sorry, it's got like a very tiny amount of cases, but nut butter has been around for a while, and sour OG cheese and Max Slurry are out here in BC. For our Ontario fans, if you haven't had a chance to try Snack Bar, that actually is what Max Slurry is listed underneath for you in Ontario. So if you really want to try Max Slurry and get that T-Mac Tangy and the Slurricane, you should definitely give it a shot. I think it tastes like Five Alive. To be honest, it does. It really does taste like Five Alive. And what's great about all of our brands, and what you'll see on the left-hand side here, is we're pretty keen on always listing the lineage. It's really important, I think, and I'm sure you all agree, that we need to be able to talk about what we're smoking so that we can elevate the industry and make sure that the customers know exactly what's going into their body. So lineage is always listed on strain cards on the websites. Some of the more exclusive strains aren't always listed on the websites, but we'll always let you know exactly what's in there as well. So happy to hear you got sour diesel. It's super, super fun, which is great. And then, yeah, we're just here putting out some pretty unique lineages, and that's really the key with BZAM. And what you'll see here in those lineage notes is it's kind of those more hard to find, more sought after lineages that you just don't find in recreation as often. And what's good to know about this brand is there a lot of the times are exclusive lots that come out with slightly higher terpene percentages or higher THC percentages. So if you're not on like your BZAM mailing list with your rep, I definitely would be, because sometimes there's a really special thing that comes out. Next one, Tom. Oh, easy. Flower production. This is pretty chill. They're pretty consistent. So BZAM is all indoor, all rock wool, and you'll actually be able to see the indoor rock wool when we take a deep dive inside the facility in a couple of minutes, hopefully in 5 minutes if I'm really good at this. But the techniques are pretty standard across all of our brands. We always grow in rock wool. Most of our brands are produced indoor except for Tabletop, which has some greenhouse. The main difference between BZAM, which I think is really great, is that these are always hand harvested and they're a mix of rack and hang. We're switching more towards hang as we move forward, but of course, like transparency is key. I don't want to lie to you. And then the cure time is also pretty standard. What's great about the BZAM SKUs is that they do also list terpenes on the bags and the harvest date, which I'm sure you've all have noticed, which is nice to just know when something was picked. Yeah, next one, easy. And then vapes. I hope everyone's gotten a chance to try our vapes. I'm #1 top fan. What's rad about these and what's rad about the vapes about underneath our entire roster of Nest, Tabletop, the whole shebang, and the Sticky Buns one is that they're actually strain specific flavor profiles. So they are botanical terpenes. They're done with an ethanol extraction process, which I can talk about a little bit, but what that really does is removes all of the original cannabis flavor. So what you're left with is just like straight terpene flavor. And what we do, and you'll see that the lineage is actually listed for both of these vapes, is we take the top 3 terpenes from that specific strain and put them into the vape. So it's like, cool, you get like a really impactful, usually pretty fruity flavor with these two. If you've not tried Magic Melon, I definitely would try it. It's pretty incredible. And they both come in at 83%. And then if you have had a chance to try our 1 gram vapes, the 1 grams have a really unique piece of technology in them called no burn technology, which I do think is nice if you have a vape person that just like goes hard. You know, if you're like really hitting the vape and you're going ham, you want to make sure that you're not, 100% Casey Lynn, I fully agree. The Nana Days does taste like pink medicine. If you were from Ontario, you know what I'm talking about. But the no burn technology makes sure that if you're like really hitting hard, that it's not going to change the flavor profile, because I'm sure you all know that terpenes can burn at different consistencies. So yeah, we're out of time. Next one. And then we just put together some selling tips to make your life easy, because you've got a lot of things to keep in mind. There's a lot of people out there trying to sell you different things and you've got to sell other things. So we just put together some quick tips. So small batch, limited release to impress like weed nerd friends. I like to say that when someone comes in and says, what's BZAM? It's really, really about like that person that comes in and wants like a unique flavor profile and potentially has some historical knowledge. Additionally, we always do high THC levels in tight ranges. And so what that means for us is that it's important that our strains are consistent from bag to bag so that your customer can go home with something like consistent, easy peasy. It's not my personal favorite to buy something at 16 one week and then 25 at the next. So across all of our portfolio and including BZAM, we always try to keep it within a 5% range. And then occasionally there's something that'll come in super, super high, which again is why you want to be on your mailing list. If you are not on your rep's mailing list, you definitely want to be on there. And then we always focus on freshness and flavor, which is why the harvest date is really important for us. And I know it's important for you as well, as we're trying to educate our consumers on how cannabis actually works so that they can make the most educated decision. So the harvest date is always good to have on there, just so the customers know there's actually things that like happen. I had to explain to my mom literally last week that you don't smoke the leaf. So it's always having that conversation and like spreading that extra knowledge with them in a really easy way, and having it on the package is always great. And then there's always something new to try. So this sometimes is like interesting, because I think if you want to always get the same type of strain, that's great. I definitely have a consistent strain that I keep all the time. I've been hitting Lemonberry from Nest for like since it came out essentially. But with BZAM, because we are bringing in these like special lineages and things that are more unique, and you'll probably see some of the pheno hunting when we pop into the cultivation facility today, they are going to be things that are kind of like here and then they go. So it might not be the same strain for like 2 years. They're definitely going to rotate through with some more limited batches, just to make sure that we can keep putting some good stuff out there. And then, yeah, when and how, pretty consistent, pretty chill. I always like to say that if you have a customer that comes in and has a flower vape, number one, jealous. Number two, BZAM is a really easy conversation to have with them because our strains are always very consistently flavorful and the terpene focus is really important for us. So yeah, does anyone have any questions so far? So far, the chat's looking pretty chill. Yeah, easy, amazing. There's no swag. Tom, do you have anything to add?
Can I ask you some questions? I wrote some questions out in case if the chat didn't hit some. So I saw before on the slides you had about all of the different strains, that for some of the strains you had like different moisture percentages, and I just wanted to ask, what is the reasoning behind that? Why do you have different moistures for different cultivars?
Great. So they're pretty consistent for BZAM being the 12 to 14. But I think it's a main differentiator when you're talking about the BZAM difference between why you would buy BZAM or tabletop. BZAM's moisture is always a slightly higher at 12 to 14, whereas the tabletop one can shoot just a little bit lower. And again, it's just the difference in who that person is. Like for me, if you're lucky enough to have, do you have COA available for all your strains? Hey, Adriana, I can get you any of them. If anyone ever wants a COA, just like send someone a note. You can email hello@bzam.com, which I'll type in the chat, or the reps regularly have them, depending on how fast we are, because, you know, sometimes there's a lot of things to navigate through. But yeah, that's really why that percentage is there, because of course, if you're buying a bag that's not the cheapest bag, like I'm not gonna lie, like I love the BZAM ones, they're priced very well, but it is important to know that you're getting a bag that's like not
your idea, by the way. If anyone wants to see the bag, and that's also what I like really, it was just quickly touch base on, but like as a bartender, I find it really great that you have the harvest date. I remember the first time I saw that and it was like my mind was blown, and I was like, this is what this industry really needs right now. And I also find it great that you guys are putting also the terpene percentages on the packaging as well, which is awesome. But with the CUAs in mind, Sabine, do you think you guys will ever like put some QR codes or something on your packaging as well? Because I've seen a few producers doing that. So I feel like everyone, you can also write in the comments QR code if you feel like QR codes would be awesome for getting the CUAs.
Yeah, so I've had this question a few times, and if I'm going to be 100% honest with everybody, which is always my goal, at this time, it's just a logistical nightmare. So it is something we're really, really keen on, but being able to make sure that it's manually updated. I think I've mentioned this before, which I think it's good. I'm not mad about it being logistically difficult. I actually think it's important that we're supporting the industry in the most effective way possible, but it does actually require probably 1 or 2 whole jobs to be able to consistently update. And we're just not there yet, but it is a conversation that many of the teams have had a few times.
And that's also the conversation I remember that you and me had like in the car when we were going to the BZAM facilities, because we were actually with the graphic designer from BZAM on the go. And just like from the marketing perspective, like it's hard to make this packaging like for us partners maybe looks so easy, but there are so many regulations about like how the font size and the spacing and everything has to be. So I feel you. I see you guys working on it, but I can see how hard that can be sometimes.
Totally. And like, so in the moment, like I'm totally fine to give COA information if someone ever wants to email, totally cool with that. But yeah, it's definitely like a conversation that we're like keen on having. My fun fact about packaging for all of you out there is there's like all these weird rules, which I'm sure you know, but there's actually 7 different health warning labels, like the yellow label. There's 7 different ones, and LPs have to cycle through them equally, which is insane.
Yeah, that is pretty insane.
Who would have known? I didn't know. Who knew?
Also, someone's already giving you tips in the comments about the QR codes, by the way. Someone's saying that to put them far away from the barcode because it's really hard to scan them on Koba, and that's a good tip for sure.
Completely agree. Yeah, it's you want to be able to scan things easily. And then we can move on to the next slide. We've got support swag if you want it. Tom, you're wearing that hat that we've got there. And then flavor first cultivation. I'm not going to crazy go into this because this is really what we're going to talk to the team about today, which is great. But when you meet Rob and Mariah, you'll really, if they both get on the phone, they're doing a hand harvest today of one of our pheno hunts. So they're very busy, but hopefully you'll get both of them today. But what's really important for them is taking each plant into consideration and treating each strain differently and independently, but also allowing that flex room for each strain to behave the way it needs to behave. Like their plants, they're not always consistent. We have a lot of guidelines and rules for how we like to deal with things. But at the end of the day, if a plant needs more nitrogen than it needed like last month, or a different room needs something slightly different, we have to be able to be flexible with that and really pay attention to the individual needs of every single plant. Some of the hot, cool things that the team does is they also use a conjoined rock wool, which is 3 rock wools that go together. I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Plants actually share like a root structure, and then they actually with each other, which is really neat. And again, just allows each plant to get exactly what they need so that we're producing the best flower we possibly can, which is really rad. The team does some pretty intense net training to make sure that we're having like a flat canopy, again, to maintain consistency between batches. But Rob and Ryan will be able to talk about that. And I've just sent them a note and they should be popping on shortly.
Do you mind if
We're here. Great.
Hey
Easy.
Tom, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you? I just saw a question in the chat super quickly. Kason is asking, trichomes contain cannabinoids, pistils are for pollination? No. So that is exactly, in the trichomes you have all your phytochemicals, so your cannabinoids, your terpenes, flavonoids, whatever. And the pistils are solely there for capturing the pollen and then bringing the pollen through the flower into the ovule so a seed can develop in it. But you don't want any seeds in your facility for sure. And Rob can explain us a little bit more about that right now. Hey Rob, it's great seeing you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
There we go. Perfect.
So yeah, you're right. Well, since we're in here, you can probably see some of our plants. We're just sitting in the flower room, one of our flower rooms. But yeah, that's exactly right. The pistil does pull the pollen into the flower, and that's how a seed develops. We don't want seeds for 2 reasons. One, the plant's going to spend energy developing that seed instead of producing THC and other terpenoids and cannabinoids. So we definitely don't want that happening. Plus, you don't want seeds in your bag. That's just something. So we don't allow. We're very strict with our uniforms and everything to not allow any pollen in here. And I don't even do any breeding aside from phenohunting and germinating seeds. So when we do have males, we remove them in our vegetative stage before any pollen's developed. So there's no cross-contamination.
And even with our phenos, like once they are in flower, we're keeping a close eye on them.
Yeah.
Just doing any scouting, just in case one of them might not be stable. So just to remove it as fast as possible.
And I just wanted to touch about, you guys are talking about the rock wool. So yeah, we do. I don't know if you can see the rock wool, but here we have our cubes on top of a slab. And yeah, we do have a root network. So the plants do communicate with each other. This is scientifically proven in 2 ways. One is through the leaves. They actually give off chemicals that signal each other where they can grow and where they can't. And they'll grow more linear or more horizontal. But also the roots communicate, and they actually share nutrients or compete for nutrients. So
that
this plant.
Yep. Rob, do you mind? That's kind of like a mycelium network, right? Or would you call it differently with cannabis?
I would say very similar to the way mycelium reacts. They do communicate with one another. And actually, we've reduced our water consumption by 50% in using this method. And our nutrient content, we're using less nutrients because they can share. And yeah, exactly. They communicate. This plant can signal this plant saying, hey, I've got too much phosphorus. Can you help me out? Or I need some nitrogen. Can I take some? And that's what they do. And they do communicate with us. I communicate with the plants every day. This is something that is, there's data proving that plants actually have a connection with their caretaker, and they do better. So we do take it very serious. That's a huge part of growing that needs to be more scientifically explored. But these plants have evolved over thousands of years, and they grow in the soil together, and they do communicate just like trees do, and mycelium and fungus and other things. So
Rob, I actually have an interesting question for you here on the side, if you don't mind me asking. So Casey is asking, how high do you trim the skirts, and do you split so you get multiple top collars?
Let's take a look. I'll stand up and show you. Can you guys see me on camera right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. As you can see, our canopy is quite even. it might be bright, but we keep our canopy quite even for a reason. So we do top our plants and pinch them, prune them early to develop the architecture of the plant. This allows us to choose where the bud sites grow. This allows our bud sites to be receiving equal amount of photons from the light, which gives us a more consistent product. If I take a flower from here, or even, as you can see, the bud zone is quite tight. There's not any flower down here. We have airflow. The flower is basically a canopy, like a sea of green. It's important that we are consistent. We want our potency to be as consistent as possible from the architecture of the plant. So I hope that answers the question. But yeah, it's important. Like each branch, if you see down here, each of these branches are developing sort of their colas, and then they have their side shoots and other branches. And then the result is, as you can see, quite outstanding. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks very good. Also, Casey, let us know if that answered your questions or if there's anything else you wanted to ask. Nicole is saying, I'm curious on how they test. How can one lot all be the same THC? Is there a threshold? Yeah, that is actually a really good question.
Great question, Nicole. So it's like it's actually interesting when you dive in deeper, which is why Rob is so passionate about maintaining this flat canopy, because it helps with consistency. Because at the end of the day, plants are plants, and it's not impossible. Like it's possible to make a really consistent room, but I would say there's always going to be things that are slightly different in each room. So yeah, that's why it's important to maintain that consistent canopy and make sure everybody's getting the best they possibly can, because it's totally possible. And in some other spaces and places, not at the BZAM, a flower that is lower down and actually has less shade will actually be a different THC than a flower at the top.
Yeah, that's
even
true.
like plants, if you were to grow your plants more linear, then a plant that is or a cola that's taller than maybe another one, it's gonna actually create shadows onto those lower bud sites, which also will give you a different THC percentage.
Yeah, for example, if I show you this kind of a view, you can see all the buds are getting equal light. We actually even selectively defoliate any of the big fan leaves that are blocking other bud sites. It's really important. It's not going to be like if I test this cola and I test this cola, they're not going to be identical, because at the end of the day, they are an organic living thing. It is a plant, so they're always going to be slightly different. If you pick two different strawberries, one might be slightly sweeter than the other. It's how nature works. But this gives us the highest chance of getting a more consistent potency, and it's pretty tight. Like if you were to test any flower in here, it's going to be within a percent or so. Like it's quite close. So yeah.
I've got more questions from Casey and Nicole, and for both of you, I think what's good to know is like industry standard is that you you test from each lot. So I'm not 100% specific on how the testing happens. Rob, you might be able to answer more, but essentially we're just wondering how they average it out when we do a whole room and we test it.
Yeah, so we do something that's, we have to do something that's called a representative sample. So we actually, after we harvest, we actually have for example, let's say we're curing in 20 or 30 bins. Then we would take a small sample from each bin at random, and that would be sent out to the lab to get a representative sample. That way we're going to get the lows and the highs, and that's basically how we get our samples. So if anyone was to take our product and send out a sample, it will fit in that category. And that's something that I believe strongly in. I don't know if every LP is doing it that way. Some are probably not, but we're really honest here. We don't cheat. You get what you get because we take pride in that. Like we actually do take a representative sample of everywhere, and that's how the industry should be. We want to be as transparent as we can, and I'm so passionate about this. This is literally my life. I love this. This isn't a job to me. I really care about the product that we're putting out there, and I'm even buying our own product because I like it so much. So I think it's important to really do that.
We have a couple more, but Rob, I'd love for you to chat really quickly just about what room we're in and what's going on in here. And then we have a couple questions about curing, which I'm sure Mariah can help. And then I think that's all of our time.
So we are in flower room 5 right now. And this genetic, we did germinate from seed. I pretty sure I can tell the genetic because has been released. It's the Rainmaker. And yeah, this is a huge producer. It's probably hard to tell on camera, but these buds are huge. They're about 8 days away from harvesting.
The indica hybrid though?
Yeah, it would definitely be heavier on the indica.
Yeah, you can tell.
These are huge and very frosty. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but
I can tell.
Very
Yeah,
beautiful. They're
Yeah.
caked. I mean, this is going to be a very, very high THC batch.
How's the smell in there?
It smells kind of like sweet and like fresh.
Fresh grass.
yeah, like
but
fresh-
sweet,
Yeah.
fresh grass.
Yeah, very. I can understand the name Rainmaker. It does feel like after it's rained, like that kind of fresh air that you smell. That's kind of what it smells with a sweetness. Like it's not fruity, but it's definitely sweet. Yeah, you should really come and smell. It's you know.
Just drive me out again.
Yeah.
Tom
I have
moved to
no
the
problem
island.
with that.
Tom moved
So
to the
this-
island, Rob, and I know they just harvested another pheno on the island, which looked really incredible, which I don't know if we can talk about yet, but it is
That's
nutty.
cool. Very cool. Well, here's
Yeah.
another pheno. So in this room, it's all Rainmaker, except I do a little test batch in every room because I'm always looking for new genetics. This is another pheno. As you can see, it's taller and the structure is different. It also
And
looks very good. Some purples
Different
starting to
color
come through.
too, right?
Yeah, different color. And the leaf structure, it definitely has a little bit more sativa in it than the shorter, more stocky, broad one. But yeah, the color is much different. It's got a bit more purple and lime green. And here's another pheno that looks kind of like the Rainmaker, but this is something else as well that I'm not supposed to talk about. And as you can see, it's still holding its color. It's still rich in nitrogen. Where if I show you the Rainmaker, you see it's got a darker kind of. All the nitrogen is actually being digested by the plant. We cut out the nitrogen, so they are looking for food, but we're not feeding it food. We're just flushing it, so it's actually digesting the nitrogen inside itself. So this is why the color's changing like that. It's self-cannibalization, and it's important for us to give that stress to the plant to really bring out the trichomes and the potency. This is beautiful.
It's the right kind of stress.
It
The
looks
right kind of
awesome.
stress. Yeah.
We have 2 questions really quick before we have to end. But Mariah, we have some questions about how we're processing in post. And we have a question on whether or not the drying process plays a part into the end structure that someone sees in a bag.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think Sabina and I always talk about this, how like post-harvest practices are so like underrated and overlooked. We definitely like, as soon as you cut the plant down, the trichomes are actually still like converting, and the enzymes are still like being kind of produced and turned over. So we're like, it doesn't stop there. Once you cut the plant down, like we dry for about 10 to 14 days. And then, trying to keep the lights off so that the THC is preserved. And then also once the product is still finished dry, or once it finishes drying, and then we put it in the curing room, the moisture is like also plays a huge factor as well. So, because that will determine whether it's a harsh smoke or a smooth smoke. And then just the way even your trimming, like for bud structure, I think the question was about like your finished product, like in the bag. I mean, obviously, depending on how the product is trimmed, you can get either, a really nice package appeal, or, it's going to be super leafy and, and no one wants that. So there's a lot of like time and energy that goes into post-harvest. That's kind of, like, that's why we try to, it's definitely important.
It's a crucial step. For example, this genetic, we did germinate from seed. It took about 7 months just to find the winning pheno from all the seeds of this genetic. And then we had to run some rooms of it. So it's, almost a year goes into just finding the right genetic and actually producing it properly. So this genetic, after we were successfully growing it, we put in like a couple weeks of veg time, a couple weeks of rooting for clone, and then a few months of flower. So suddenly 3 months of love and care into this plant. We can't just
flash dry
We-
it,
we-
throw it in a bag.
It's important that we, yeah, right. We have to do every
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
And
I
Mariah's
love
right.
it, guys.
There are still enzymes in the plant that are still converting different cannabinoids to THC, and there are things that are still happening. They're still ripening. So that's why I do like hang drying, which we are doing with a lot of our batches. We are hang drying a batch right now as we speak. And in my experience, I've been in the business pretty much my whole life. A hand trim, hang dried product is always superior.
Yeah.
So
We're actually hand trimming wet right now and then hang drying.
yeah.
So
If you guys mind, I just read in the presentation before that you're machine trimming them and hand manicuring them. Does it then mean so you take the flower, you put it in a machine, so it cuts the flower smaller, and then the actual parts and collars you hand trim?
Well,
yeah, so we would essentially like, oh, sorry.
do we have time to go show you our harvesting right now?
I was gonna say, like, I think the easiest way to think about it is it's our dream to do everything hand the whole time.
Yeah.
But not every single lot and batch can be like that, which is why we kind of use the lowest common denominator in the PK decks, because we just don't want to lie to anybody to have someone think that it's a certain way and it's not,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
There are
very
a
fair.
lot of lots now that are coming out that are fully hand all the way through. It's just not something we can say for everything, so we'd rather just not, like, you know, make a blanket statement, kind of the vibe. But yeah, the team will usually know, the reps will know when something is hand done all the way through and what that looks like. Like, I think the thing that you guys are harvesting right now is going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah,
And
we're
we hit
doing,
up-
today we're hand trimming wet, and then we're hang drying. So it's we've removed all the leaves. I believe this helps with our terpene profile, and also it's just a beautiful product, this one. So we had to do it by hand. It's almost like
Nice.
it's too sad to do the machine when it's so beautiful,
Yeah.
right? I would do hands for everything if I had the approval. I don't care what it costs. Like, let's just do it all by hand.
We are-
And
we
I
are-
also-
Oh,
I
sorry.
also really get the feeling from you guys. Sorry for like charging in very quickly, but I also really get the feeling that for you guys at BZAM, it's mostly just about like budgets, because again, really feel that you want to do everything perfect, but there's only like so much that you can do with like having a certain budget, right? So that's, I feel like, why the tastings and like having these sessions are great, because people just need to smoke your weed, so the weed gets better and better, because the more people smoke your weed, the more budget comes in and the more cool stuff you guys can do later on, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I
for
also
sure.
think
We're
too,
still-
there's so much nuance in like how fast things happen in cannabis. So the thing that they're talking about right now is a strain that hasn't gotten accepted into any of the provinces yet. So it won't be listed in any PK decks for quite a while until it gets accepted by somebody, which I hope someone picks up soon, because it's looking really, really good. And then if that's that entire strain that it is processed that way, of course we'll list it. But it's never, I don't like ever talking about the best possible situation when not everything's like that, you know? We have one question, and then I think we've got to move on. Thanks, Rob, Mariah. I just wanted you to
Let me talk about the tasting.
I wanted to Rob, you can give us like 5 seconds of what our flushing process is, and then
I will.
to dive into the things.
So I would say about 15 days or sometimes even longer prior to harvest, we start to deplete the some of the nutrients, especially nitrogen. As you can see, like for example, this is quite yellow here. This is depleting all the nitrogen. After about 5 days or a week of that, then we usually flush for 10 to 14 days of just clear water, just pure water. I would rather have a better product and lose a little bit of yield. That's the thing. If we give nutrients until the end, we might get a little bit more yield. But if we don't flush it properly, I'm a smoker. I've smoked weed since I was like 13 years old. I really care about the product tasting, how the flavor to me is more important than the potency. So the aroma, the flavor, that's what I really take pride in. So yeah, we flush for minimum 10 days to 14 days, and then we finish for about 5 to 7 days. So quite a long flushing process. And then we get this beautiful product. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rob, Mariah, for being here.
Thank you, guys. I wish you could.
Yeah, thank you,
visit
guys.
here.
Easy.
Yeah.
As I'm saying, just Rob, send me the money and ship me out there. I will be there.
Totally.
Tom, you're going to the island. It's fine. We're getting you to the island. It's going to happen. You're going to that facility. It's close to you.
Calm down. I will see the weed again. I will see the weed again.
Yeah, you will for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your time. I love showing you guys what we're doing here. There is a lot of passion here, as you can probably feel through the camera. Every one of our team members here actually loves what they do, and that also helps us put a better product out too. So it's nice when you love your job.
How can we not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat and I can try to cover them. If you don't get your question answered, you can send me an email at hello@BZAM and I will have the team answer for you. But thank you for all being here and looking at the things. Tom, this is your moment. What's happening?
This is my moment. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Rob.
guys. See ya. Bye. Okay. It's my moment. So let's talk about the tastings that we have going on with the Bartenders Association, where we are tasting in Ontario right now, the nut butter by BZAM. So just quickly about the tastings. You as a bartender, if you buy the product at your store, all you have to do is you have to submit a copy of the receipt and a product picture to BTA to get a ticket for the tasting. What the ticket will do, it will give you a tasting survey that you have to fill out. And once you fill out the survey, you will get NUGs. So these NUGs are, and we're also having the tasting tickets in the comments right now. So check that out if you want to try some cannabis for free. And it's not even for free, because basically how it works, for every product, there is a certain amount of NUGs associated with the product. So 10 NUGs are $1. So for example, the BZAM right now is valued as 500 NUGs. So that's $50. I personally bought this for $30. I would make $20 plus just by smoking this and filling out a survey. So just think about that, guys, just for a sec. That's pretty awesome. So, here I just want to give you a little bit of heads up about the tasting and how it all works. Also about my background quickly, I used to develop my own cannabis testing system for City Cannabis Co. back in the day. So I'm very familiar on how these things work. And that's where I already wanted to give you guys a heads up. It's a bunch of questions though. And and the important thing about BTA, we always want to give something like really good and really positive for you guys, but we're also doing market research to make the market better, to help BZAM produce better product and have like accurate results about all the tastings that we're doing. So that's where I just wanted to let you guys know, just be a little bit mindful about what you're doing during the tasting, because like I, for example, did it once with a friend of mine, or like I tried to do it when I just noticed that we were just getting way too baked and that we're just like chatting with each other, and I like put the survey away, and later I'm like, oh, how was the flavor? I have no idea anymore. So just wanted to give you a heads up to make the market research a little bit better. Just take your time, take a chill, and yeah, you get like free weed plus a couple of dollars just for like chilling out and testing the product accurately. And so how the testing survey is structured, by the way, is you just start off with a little bit of industry information. So what do you do in your store? What do you usually like to smoke? What's your favorite consumption methods? All types of questions like that, super easy to fill out. And then next you move forward to the packaging, which is also a very important factor, because we were talking about BZAM before. And I also feel like if every one of you, I feel like there are a lot of bartenders who love the glass jars. If you love glass jars, just write glass in the comment, because with BZAM, and we were talking about, it comes in a plastic bag for now, but it's like a new industry. There's a lot of money going around. So just give the guys time to make more process. But then what you can do, you can also give a little bit of better rating for the packaging, because it also has the harvest date on, it has all of the terpene percentages on and all of that. And just quickly, by the way, I'm also not going over the nut butter and opening it up and going step by step over it, because as I'm saying, it's market research. If I do that, I'm going to bias all of you, and then that's not really what we want, right? So I'm just going to be talking very general. So after you put down the industry information and the packaging info, you would next move forward to the flower. And with the flower, I'm just going to pull the questions up so I can go over them with you guys super quickly here. So you have all the important questions that really evaluate the product quality of the buds themselves. So how this usually starts is with just the overall impression of the nugs, like what's the size of the nugs? Do the nugs look pretty brown, or are they really nice and green? And next it would be going into the trim, because with the trim you don't want too many sugar leaves on that, because as we all know, you have more non-glandular and less glandular trichomes on your sugar leaves, so you don't have as much phytochemicals with the sugar leaves. So that's why you want the proper trim. And next we go into the moisture content. Is it perfectly cured? Is it too dry? And like my pro tip for the moisture content, by the way, is doing the squeeze test. So basically with cannabis, you don't want it to be too moist, because if it's too moist, you're basically heating up water, and like no one wants to smoke water, right? Have you ever smoked water? I don't think so. Because that is going to make it all a little harsher. Same with it being too dry. If it's too dry, then it's mean that the buds got exposed to a lot of oxygen and stuff. So you have less terps with a drier product. It's also be a little bit harsher, less flavorful. So best would be you squeeze it, it comes back perfectly. And then lastly, we also have the trichome density. So how you can evaluate that is just by looking at the buds. But what I highly recommend, and Claire can also maybe show some trichome pictures of the BZAM nut butter that I took with this digital microscope here, which I highly recommend everyone to get. That's like the next up tool for a bud tender. So as you can see here, that's a picture that I've taken with the digital microscope, where you can look at all the trichomes. So in this picture, as you can see, it's super frosty. There are some heads where it's not like the biggest head, but also the color of the trichomes is almost perfect. It's kind of between this milky and amber state, which say that it's just like a slightly tiny little bit too old, but in my opinion, that's honestly perfect. Rather have it a little bit over the notch than a little bit under the notch for me personally. And yeah, then after that, you come to the more tricky part, because at this point with the packaging and with the flower, in most of the cases, you're not baked right now, unless you smoke the joint before you start doing all of that. But next we come to the aromas, last part before we go to the smoking. So with the aroma, you would rate the intensity, the pleasantness, the complexity. Complexity, for example, means nut butter. Does it smell like what it says? Does it smell like nuts? Does it smell like a peanut butter? Because there are strains that smell like peanut butter. Or does it just smell like nothing? Does it maybe smell like hay? Like hay is, for example, the worst smell you can get. Hay or nothing would be like a 1, and then a nut butter would be the 5. And then after that, you would just go into all of your flavor questions. What are the flavors that you can taste? How pleasant are the flavors? And also very important from my perspective as well is how well does the flavor retain itself? So is the first puff of the joint as good as the last puff of the joint? Because personally, I'm a very, very picky dude, honestly. If at half of the joint, all I taste is burnt and ash, I'm gonna toss it because I don't want to taste it, honestly. So yeah, that's why I also feel flavor retention is a really good quality aspect as well. And then after that, you would just go into elevating the ash color. And then lastly, you would move forward to the effects, which to me is also a fun part with the nut butter, because as you were saying before, Sabine, that you don't like cheesy strains, I get anxiety from the nutty strains. And I actually posted it in my Instagram the other day, where I smoked the product and I was like, okay, I'm not feeling as anxious right now. And then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, okay, no, I feel like, you know, that weed that you smoke and you feel really dumb and you don't really know what you're doing right now. That's how I felt. So like, doesn't say anything about the quality of the weed, but just says about myself, yo, it's just not really my vibe, depending on the terpene profile. And then lastly, after the effects, after flower, after the smoke, after the aroma, after all of that, then you just have to fill out a couple of questions that BZAM put together for you, so they can make the company better based on your feedback, can produce better swag based on your feedback, and all of that. And that is pretty much how the tasting works. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments right now so I can ask them for you, answer them for you, not ask them for you. You're going to ask them, I'm going to answer. And lastly, I just wanted to quickly highlight as well again that once the Zoom meeting is over, there will come up a link for our BTA giveaway. So just fill out a couple of questions and you're entered into our giveaway where you can win a couple of really nice swag items and stuff there as well. And yeah, Sabine, do you have any questions about the tasting, by the way? Did I miss anything?
No, you're incredible. Number one, Tom, thank you. You're the best. Two, I want to let everyone know, like, please be hard on us. Like, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear all of the bad. I want to hear all the good. So like, live your best life. Be hard on me if you want. It's totally fine. I'd love to just know what everyone's like actual honest and transparent thoughts are. And yeah, Tom, thanks for putting that all together and giving everyone a full breakdown, because it's important. Lots of things to do.
Yeah, and also that's also what I just want to point out, because with my experience, because I was the one who was leading this first, so I gave people free read, and when I was looking at all the survey submissions they sent to me, and what I just figured out is people are too nice to the weed. Like if it says nut butter on it and it doesn't smell like a nut butter, then be mean to the weed. Just tell it you don't smell like nuts. You're wrong. Just do it. Just help BZAM, help BTA. Let's produce actual tastings that completely reflect what you're getting, because it's just going to benefit all of us, honestly.
Yeah, I like totally agree. I think like we're in such a unique space, and I'm so happy you're all a part of BTA, because like you really have the opportunity to drive what the industry is going to be like. And sometimes that means giving hard feedback. So lean in, guys. We're invested. So thank you all for being here and spending an hour with us today.
Yeah, thank you all. And also quickly from my side, it's the first event I ever did. So I would appreciate it if any one of you wants, just make a quick Instagram story, whatever. Let us know how you liked the meeting we had today, and just tag myself, that's Tom Different, tag BZAM Cannabis, and just tag the Bartenders Association, so we all know if we did a good job or not.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. And then if you have any questions, you can filter them through the BTA team, or if you want to email hello@BZAM, I'll answer them for you. But thanks so much for being here. I hope everyone's enjoying the insane season that we have. We're in a blink and it's going to be 420, which is essentially our Christmas. So it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having you guys. And I'm excited for seeing you guys all around the next time. And if you know any people that are bartenders and that are not part of BTA and that are not getting free money to be grading products, maybe let them know that they should sign up, because it's honestly pretty rad, guys.
Yeah.